Okay, our learning today is Le'ilui Nishmat Nisim ben Miriam, Miriam bat Rahel, Halfon ben Miriam, Rahel Chaya bet Miriam, Shoshana bet Miriam, Rahel Chaya bet Miriam, Yitzchak ben Perlina, Yeshaya ben Godayeta, Gershon Hanoch ben Baruch Mordechai, Leah bet Abraham Eliezer, Maran Rabbi Hayim Ovadia ben Georgia, Hacham Mordechai Semach ben Mazal, Rab Shemuel Yaakov ben Rabbi Yitzchak Matityahu and Kalman Aharon ben Bela Ruach Adonai Tinichanan Began Aiden. Amen. Our learning today is also dedicated to the Refuah Shlema of Yosef ben Shoshana, Mariza bat Shoshana, Esther bat Doba, and Abraham ben Torkia. El Narefana Lahem, El Narefana Lahem, El Narefana Lahem, Betoch Kol Sha'ar Halei Amo Yisrael. Amen. Okay, we are studying Hilchot Tefillin. We are on Siman Chaf Hey, and we're doing right now the Hakdama. We're doing an introduction to the laws of Tefillin, and we were discussing some of the different values of the mitzvah and its reward, the greatness of the mitzvah of Tefillin and some of its rewards. So we had discussed previously that some of the rewards and some of the uniqueness of tefillin is that, number one, if a person wears tefillin, it's as if he studied Torah day and night, because the pasuk says, "Ve'ya lecha le'ot al yadecha u'zikaron b'neinecha lema'an tiyeh Torat Adonai b'ficha." So if a person has this ot on his yadecha, and he has the zikaron b'neinecha, then it's as if he has Torat Hashem b'ficha. And so therefore, one who wears tefillin, it's like he studied Torah all day long. In addition to that, the Gemara in Masechet Berachot teaches that somebody who wears tefillin has total allegiance to the kingdom of heaven, to Hashem. In addition to that, the Gemara there as well quotes Rabbi Hayya bar Abba, who said the name of Rabbi Yochanan, that somebody who wears tefillin, among some other things, it's considered like he built a mizbeach and he brought a korban. In addition to that, it also gives him long life. That was the fourth thing we said. We also said that it protects him from sin, as the pasuk says, "Ve'achot hamishulash lo v'imhera yenatek," that somebody who has his tefillin on his arm, tzitzit on his garment, and a mezuzah on his doorway is guaranteed not to sin. And so therefore he's protected from sin. We also learned that he automatically gets the world to come. That was brought down in the Shimush Rabbah. We also saw that it's a protection from Gehinam, which was also brought down in the Shimush Rabbah. And we learned also that Hashem pardons the sins of somebody who wears tefillin. And we learned also that tefillin is considered greater than praying, because Hashem instituted the mitzvah of tefillin while prayers were instituted by the Hachamim. And therefore, tefillin is of a greater level even than prayer. And the last thing that we had discussed was that it tips the scales. If somebody is 50-50, somebody's a Benoni, and he's a halachic Benoni, he's 50-50%, he has 50% mitzvot, 50% avonot. So if one of the mitzvot is tefillin, so then it tips the scale in favor of the mitzvot. And if lo aleinu, somebody is the mitzvah that's missing is tefillin, so then it tips the scales to the avonot. So those were 10 things that we discussed regarding the level of tefillin. Now we're going to discuss some new ones, which is number 11, fostering humility and the fear of Hashem. The Rambam wrote in Hilchot Tefillin, Perek Daled, Halacha Chaf Hey, the sanctity of tefillin is quite sublime. As long as one wears tefillin on his head and arm, he will be humble and he will possess the fear of heaven. He will not be drawn to games or idle conversation, nor will his thoughts wander to sin. His heart will be directed to truth and justice. Therefore, one should attempt to wear tefillin all day long, for that is the intent of the mitzvah. Our Chachamim testified that Rav, the Talmid of Rabbeinu HaKadosh, was never seen, even for a matter of seconds, while not wearing his tzitzit and tefillin and discussing Torah. So again, we had mentioned that there was this level that in previous generations, there were people that they would wear the tefillin all day long. Today, our custom is not to do that, although there are some individuals in Israel who still do this. Our custom is not to wear the tefillin all day long for various reasons, which Bezrat Hashem will get into in later classes. But the idea here is that Somebody who does wear the tefillin all day long will become humble. That was brought down by the Rambam. Number 12 is it atones for sins. The Kafa Hayim Palachi in Siman Yud in Halacha Lamed wrote that our Chachamim testify that Tefillin Shel Rosh brings atonement, kapara, for acting in a haughty manner, while Tefillin Shel Yad atones for the sin of murder. His source is Vayikra Rabbah, Perek Chaf Aleph, Pasuk Hey. Rabbi Natan and Rabbi Aha said in the name of Rabbi Shimon, if you have committed hordes of sins, counter them with clusters of mitzvot. If you are guilty of acting in a haughty manner, place tefillin on your head. If you are guilty of murder, place tefillin on your arm. So the fact that he says to put tefillin on your head if you are haughty, or tefillin if you're guilty of murder, shows that those are the things that combat those sins, that tefillin combats those sins and will atone for them. So far we saw that it will bring humility, and we'll see also that it atones for sins, for haughtiness, and for murder. And it's important to note that murder doesn't mean specifically just murder in the physical sense of killing another person, but our Chachamim taught in many places that Lashon Hara, if somebody would to shame somebody in public or gossip about that person, that's equal to murder. And many other things that the Chachamim said is like murdering, but specifically Lashon Hara is a sin that is like murder that unfortunately in our generation it's become commonplace, that we don't pay as much attention to it as we should. So the tefillin could bring us an atonement for that. So it's an important mitzvah, especially in our time. Number 13 is that it's equal to all the mitzvot together. So the Levush in Siman Lamed Zayin in Saif Aleph wrote, the mitzvah of tefillin is equal in value to all the mitzvot combined. This is as the pasuk states, "V'haya lecha leot al yadecha u'lezikaron ben einecha leman tieh torat Adonai beficha." It shall be for you a sign on your arm and a reminder between your eyes, so that God's Torah will be in your mouth. This implies that through the fulfilling of the mitzvah of tefillin, it is as if a person has fulfilled the entire Torah in his mouth. Rav Eliyahu of Vilna pointed out, in support of this explanation, that the letters of the Hebrew word for in your mouth, bet, fe, yud, chaf, b'ficha, bet, fe, yud, chaf, have a numerical value of 613. Bet is 2, fe is 80, so that's 82. Yud, this, I get, b'maleh, he doesn't write it here, but when he says it's the gematria, beficha means it's Malay, so you would have to spell it out in its entirety, which means in gematriot, there's different ways of doing gematriot. So one of the ways is where you actually spell out each letter. So bet is bet yud tav, so bet is 2, yud is 10, and tav is 400, so that would be 412. Then pei is 80, and aleph is 1, so that's 81, so 412. And 81, 412, and 1 second, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry for that. Just my son's doing his class in the background. He's kind of like screaming. It's hard for me to hear. So let's do this calculation again. We have beficha, bet, fe, yud, chaf. Bet, yud, taf is 412. Fe, aleph is 81. So 412 and 81 will be 493. Yud is Yud Vav Dalid, so 493 plus 10 is 503, plus 6 is 509, plus 4 is 600, 500. I'm gonna have to write this down now. I'm losing my count. Let's do it with a calculator here. Okay. Bet Yud Taf is 412. Okay, Fe Aleph is 81. Plus Yud is 10, 6, and 4. So that's 20. Plus Chaf is 20. And Fe is 80. So that's another 100. comes out to 613. Beautiful. So that's how you got it. So the Harav Eliyahu of Vilna pointed out, if you take that in support of this, the letters of the Hebrew word bevicha that's used in regards to the tefillin is gematria, when you spell it out in full, 613. This signifies that the mitzvah of tefillin is equal to all of the 613 mitzvot. It's unclear from where the Levush derived this concept. Rabbeinu Asher, cited in the Bet Yosef, declared that the mitzvah of tefillin is greater than all other mitzvot aseh, based on the same pasuk, but he did not claim that this mitzvah is equal to all the others combined. Above, in section 10, a possible source for the Levush's declaration is cited from the Talmud Yerushalmi. Another possible source is the Minorat HaMa'or al-Nakwa in Perek Bet Daf Kuf, citing Avot Rabbi Natan, teaching 10 things are equal to all the mitzvot of the Torah, reciting the Shema, Tzitzit, Tefillin, Shabbat, Korbanot, Brit Milah, tithing produce, justice, charity, and distancing oneself from idolatry. So it could be that that's the source for the Levush's concept, that it's equal to the 613 mitzvot, could be from this Avot Rabbi Natan. The Sefer HaManhig on page 625 taught that one of the two letters, Shin, on the Tefillin Shel Rosh has 4 heads instead of the standard 3 heads. If you look at your Tefillin, you'll find that Shin normally goes up with 3 heads, has 3 sticks that come out of it, and on the Tefillin Shel Rosh, we find that one of them has 4. He cited a tradition from the pious scholars of Almania explaining that this is in order to allude to the fact that tefillin is equal to the entire Torah. The 2 letters Shin have the combined numerical value of 600. The 2 letters form the word Shesh, which means 6, bringing us up to 606. When we add the 7 heads on the 2 letters, we reach the total of 613. So again, the tefillin has Shin on both sides. So the tefillin has the Shin. Shin and Shin is 300 each, which gives us 600. And then you have the word that's spelled by the letter Shin, which is Shesh. Shesh is 6, so that's 606. And then you add this 3 heads on one side and 4 heads on the other side, makes 7, which is 613. So he says that also is alluding to the fact that it's equal to the 613 mitzvot. Despite this, the concept of tefillin being equal to all 613 mitzvot does not seem to be accepted universally. Not everybody claims or believes that the tefillin is actually equal to all 613 mitzvot. It's not to say that it's not a very valuable or important mitzvah, just to say that it doesn't have that quality of being equal to the 613 mitzvot according to those opinions. The Nimukei Yosef, cited in the Bet Yosef on Siman Chaf Hei, explained that we don the talit before the tefillin, since tzitzit has the advantage of being equal to all the other mitzvot, as the Gemara teaches in Masechet Menachot, Daf Mem Gimel Amud Bet. So from the fact that we see he's saying that tzitzit is greater because it has that value, means that tefillin obviously does not have that value. Apparently, the mitzvah of tefillin does not have this advantage. Indeed, the Yafel Alev in Siman Chaf Hei Ot Gimel cited the Halachot Kitanot and the Shemesh Tzedakah, pointing out that it appears from Rabbeinu Asher that tefillin is equal to all the mitzvot. He then cited the Hashek Shlomo, who asserted that even Rabbeinu Asher did not write specifically that tefillin is equal to all the mitzvot. He wrote only that tefillin is juxtaposed to the entire Torah. Even if that means the same thing, it still refers to the Torah's 248 mitzvot aseh only, whereas tzitzit is equal to all 613 mitzvot of the Torah, both mitzvot aseh and mitzvot lo ta'aseh. So there is a very strong opinion that the tefillin is not equal to all the 613 mitzvot, despite what we've said previously. Nevertheless, the Yafel Alev demonstrated that the Tikkunei Zohar in volume 2 on page 69a states openly that whoever wears tefillin and tzitzit is considered to have fulfilled all 613 mitzvot. He likewise cited the Midrash, fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin, replied HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I will consider it as if you spend all your days and nights in Torah study, as found above in number 1. The mitzvah of Torah study is definitely equal to all 613 mitzvot. So if tefillin is equal to Torah study, it likewise has this advantage. Meaning to say, if you do the mitzvah of tefillin, it's as if you were studying Torah. If you study Torah, it's as if you did all of the mitzvot. So if you wore tefillin, it's as if you did all of the mitzvot. Furthermore, in his commentary on the Torah in Sefer Bereshit, Perek Yud Zayin, in Pasuk Yud Gimel, Rabbeinu Asher's comment is almost identical to that of the Levush. This is proof to the position of the Halachot Kitanot and Shemesh Tzedakah. Harav Yaakov Haim Sofer in Torat Yaakov Pirashat Shelach on page Kuf Nun Tet discussed this matter at length and cited a number of sources stating that tefillin is equal to all the mitzvot of the Torah. So regardless, there's definitely a strong opinion that the mitzvah of tefillin is equal to all the mitzvot. That seems to be the opinion of the Zohar HaKadosh, as well as others. And therefore, somebody who puts tefillin, he presumably will have this advantage that as if he did all of the mitzvot. And even if he didn't, so definitely he'll have some value for doing that. I want to just remind you that if you have questions, you can always put them in the chat. That should not be a problem, obviously. Okay. So let's, okay. Number 14 is the Zohar's teaching. The Zohar in Sefer Devarim in page 265a teaches, Rabbi Shimon said, at the moment a person rises early in the morning, dons tefillin on his head and arm, puts on a talit and passes by his mezuzah, the mark of the holy name, at the doorway of his home, 4 holy angels join him and exit his home with him to accompany him to the synagogue. They announce, give honor to this representation of the holy king. Give honor to the king's son, the representation of the king's face. The divine spirit envelops him and announces, this is Israel, in whom I pride myself. Okay, so it's just interesting. He points out here, he says in the Zohar Kadosh, he says that when a person wakes up early, he puts the tefillin on, his head in his arm, he puts a talit on, and he passes by the mezuzah. So he did 4 things. He had the tefillin on his head, tefillin on his arm, which we had mentioned previously are 2 separate mitzvot, and he puts the talit, and he passes the mezuzah. So he did 4 things, and now it's as he gets 4 angels for that. It's like 4 malachim representing the 4 mitzvot. Now, it's important to note that today that's also, again, not our custom. Our custom is not to go to the synagogue from our homes wearing the tefillin and talitot, but in the olden days, they used to put their talit and tefillin at home, and they would walk to the synagogue wearing the talit and tefillin. In Israel, it's more common. You'll see people in Israel doing that, but here, amongst the goyim and the diaspora, we don't have that custom for various reasons, but we don't do that. And so the custom here is that when one gets to the synagogue, when you're at the synagogue, so there's usually like some kind of a lobby or like an antechamber before you get into the actual Bet Knesset. And so therefore a person should put on his tefillin and his talit in that place. So that way when he walks into the synagogue, he'll be wearing his talit and tefillin already. And if you look in your sidurim, there's like some psukim that one says, like avo beitecha eshtachave lechal kodshecha biyiratecha. There's a special psukim the person says when he comes in, he bows towards the echal and stuff like that while wearing the talit and tefillin. So it's just important. That's why you'll see some people putting on their talit and tefillin inside like the lobbies of the shul or different places, different things like that. But they want to walk in with this idea of wearing the talit and tefillin. As we see here from the Zohar, there's a very big value in doing so. Then he says the divine spirit ascends on such a person and testifies before the holy king. The sublime king then commands that a list be written of all those who attend his sanctuary and all those who present themselves to him. Furthermore, the Blessed Holy One boasts of this person and announces to all the worlds, look at what my child does in my world. In contrast, if someone goes to the synagogue and leaves his home without tefillin on his head and tzitzit on his garment, and then he recites the pasuk, Eshtachave elechal kodshecha biyiratecha, I will bow down to your holy sanctuary in fear of you. The Blessed Holy One says, where is his fear of me? He is guilty of testifying falsely. So, that's the pasuk that we said previously, that when a person goes into the synagogue, he should say that pasuk. The custom today is that one puts on his talit and tefillin in some other room so that he enters the synagogue wearing it. It seems to be that the implication of the paragraph here would be that when one leaves his home, if he's not wearing the tefillin, then he does not, he gets that disadvantage. But seemingly, our custom today is that we believe the advantage comes from walking into the synagogue with the talit and tefillin, and therefore, I think we have what to rely on. Anyway, so we've stated now 14 different values of the great advantage of wearing tefillin. Now we spoke about the positive side. It's time to speak about the negative side. What about somebody who doesn't put tefillin? What's the punishment for failing to perform the mitzvah of tefillin? So there's various teachings that talk about the severity of not wearing tefillin. Number one is being excommunicated by heaven. The Gemara in Mesechet Pesachim, Daf Kuf Yud Gimel Amud Bet, teaches there are 7 individuals who are excommunicated by Shamayim, and one of these is someone who does not place tefillin on his head and arm. The Sefer Mitzvot Gadol, Ot Gimel, explains that if someone does not don tefillin, he has only one witness, his Brit Milah, to the fact that he is a Jew. Therefore, he deserves to be excommunicated. Number 2 is fire from heaven. The Korban Mincha in Siman Shin Mem Dalid stated, anyone who does not don tefillin will be stricken by a lightning bolt from above. That's a strong one. I've never seen that in practice. I don't know. I've seen people not put tefillin on before, and I've not seen them actually struck by lightning. So I'm not sure how to understand that. Maybe it means some kind of spiritual lightning. I don't know. Number 3 is will not be resurrected. The Sha'arei Kedusha, Volume 2, in Unit 6, taught, whoever does not fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin is among those who will not be resurrected in the future. See the Kaf HaChaim Sofer in Siman Lamed Zayin in Sa'if Vav. So I guess somebody doesn't wear tefillin and does not merit the Techiyat HaMetim, will not be part of the resurrection. And number 4 is he's disqualified as a witness. The Yafel Alev in Siman Lamed Zayin Sa'if Bet pointed out that such a person is labeled an ignoramus, an am ha'aretz, which means that he is ineligible to offer testimony in a rabbinical court. I didn't know that somebody who's considered am ha'aretz is not eligible for a dut in a court. I'm not sure how they would do that, because today that would be very difficult. I guess we wouldn't have any kosher witnesses. Most of us probably would be considered amei haaretz. I'm not sure what the definitions are here, but nonetheless, regardless of the definitions, we could look at what it means in depth. But definitely, at least on a superficial value, at least we can look at it. There is this value of if you don't wear tefillin, there's a disadvantage that you're considered like an am haaretz, you're considered like an ignoramus, and therefore you would not be counted for edut, for testimony. Okay, so now we get into karkafta without tefillin. The Gemara teaches in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, those people who fit in the category of Posh'ei Yisrael begufan, Jews who sin with their own bodies, descend to Gehinam and are subjected to 12 months of punishment. After 12 months, their bodies are destroyed and their souls are scorched. The wind scatters their ashes underneath the feet of the righteous. Who fits into this category? Rav said, someone who fails to place tefillin on his head. Somebody doesn't wear tefillin, so according to the Gemara, he will be subjected to 12 months of punishment. Then his body will be destroyed, his soul will be scorched, and his ashes will be scattered beneath the feet of the tzaddikim. The Tosafot explained that this is referring to someone who is judged in heaven and found to have more sins than merits. And among his sins is the failure to fulfill the mitzvah of Tefillin. The combined guilt condemns him to eternal damnation. If someone has more sins than merits, but he's not guilty of failing to fulfill the mitzvah of Tefillin, he is still condemned to Gehinnom. But after 12 months of punishment, he is rectified, and he rises to his resting place. If someone is found to possess equal amounts of merits and sins, but among his sins is the failure to fulfill the mitzvah of Tefillin, he is condemned to Gehinnom momentarily, and then he rises to his resting place. If he is not guilty of failing to fulfill the mitzvah of Tefillin, then he is spared the punishment of Gehinnom altogether. It's very powerful. So what's the definition of karkafta without Tefillin? It is unclear from the Gemara who actually belongs to the category of karkafta who has no Tefillin. How many times must he fail to fulfill the mitzvah to earn such a label? Does it make a difference why he didn't fulfill the mitzvah? Meaning, does it just have to be that a person had tefillin on every day? Or does it mean he just had to put tefillin at least once in his life? If a person goes his whole life and he never put tefillin, so presumably that person, so he's going to be karkafta without tefillin. But what about somebody who puts tefillin, generally speaking, every day? And one day here or there on vacation or something, woke up late and kind of forgot about it. He missed Shachrit, and then went through the day, said he was going to put it on later, and then he ended up never putting on tefillin. Such a person is considered karkafta without tefillin. And what about somebody who really is going his whole life, but then one day he's walking down the street and some Chabadnik comes over to him and tells him, "Hey, did you put tefillin today?" And he puts tefillin on his arm. So now he fulfilled the mitzvah of tefillin one day in his life. Is that considered enough that he's not karkafta without tefillin? What's the guidelines if somebody is considered to be a karkafta without tefillin? So number one of this is Rabbeinu Yitzchak Alfasi, the Rif, cited this passage as a head that has never worn tefillin. This means that the category applies only to people who have never fulfilled the mitzvah. Someone who has fulfilled it on occasion will be punished for the days when he failed to fulfill it, but he is not placed in the dire straits of those in this category. This appears to be the opinion of the Rambam in Hilchot Teshuvah, Perek Gimel, Halacha Hey as well. Rosh, however, wrote in a comment to Masechet Rosh Hashanah in Perek Aleph Mishnah Hey that the correct text of the Gemara does not include the word never. According to this, even someone who occasionally fails to fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin might be included in this category. So, regarding the first opinion, we have the Rif and the Rambam, which are clearly strong amudim of halacha. They both said that it's talking about somebody who never did it once in his life. If a person put tefillin on and he missed it a few times, that person will be punished for those few days that he didn't put it on. But the rest of his life, he's not gonna be in eternal damnation because of it to such an extent, like the one who never put it on. Number two is Rabbeinu Tam, cited in Tosafot and Rabbeinu Asher's comment to Rosh Hashanah, Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, asserted that the category of Posh'ai Yisrael Begufan includes only those who fail to fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin because they despise the mitzvah and are repulsed by the thought of placing tefillin straps on their heads. If someone does not wear tefillin because he believes that only someone with a pure and holy body like Elisha Ba'al Kinafayim is permitted to wear them, as someone might deduce from the Gemara, and he's concerned that he might be desecrating the tefillin sanctity by wearing them, he's not included in that category. He's guilty of a sin, since anyone should be able to maintain body cleanliness during the short period it takes to recite the Shema and the Amidah prayer. But this does not place him in the category of someone among the Posh'ai Yisrael Begufan. So we have on one hand the Rif and the Rambam says that it means somebody who never put tefillin, but somebody who puts tefillin a few times, he'll be okay. And then we have that of the Rabbeinu Tam that makes it even easier for us and says it's only somebody who's doing it like le'achis. He's doing it because he's against the mitzvah, it repulses him. The idea of tefillin, he doesn't want to do it. But somebody who just doesn't put tefillin because of some other reason, he states here for like a spiritual reason, like he thinks he's not worthy of tefillin, but I think we can take it a step further and say definitely people who were ignorant and didn't even know that there was such a mitzvah of tefillin or didn't know anything about it, they didn't have appreciation of what they were giving up, I don't think that those people would be counted. So definitely, according to Rabbeinu Tam, there's room even to justify them and to, to not to necessarily to justify them, but to protect them a little bit from that they shouldn't be punished. And like we rule in this world, so it is in the world above, right? The Beit Din Shel Ma'ala is bound by the Beit Din Shel Mata. So if we're posek la'alacha in this world, not that I'm being posek, but if the poskim here, the Rif and Rabbeinu Tam are posek that such a person should get absolvement, so they should follow suit. The Beit Hadash, the Bach, wrote. Let's see here, we got another message. Okay, so the Bach wrote that as he understood Rabbeinu Tam, if someone fails to fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin simply because he's lazy or because it interferes with his activities, he is guilty of despising the mitzvah, and he is a Jew who sins with his body. Harav Haida, however, maintained in Birkei Yosef that such a person does not really despise the mitzvah. He simply does not recognize its value. Therefore, he is not included in this category. Harav Haida pointed out that Rabbeinu Eliezer of Metz, a disciple of Rabbeinu Tam, wrote clearly in Sefer Yera'im that this is Rabbeinu Tam's intent. This is likewise the opinion of Sefer HaManhig. So I guess there is this opinion of the Bach that no, even somebody who's lazy, just didn't put tefillin on that day, he is guilty. But the Chida, Rabbeinu Chaim Yosef David Azulai, and quotes himself and quotes others that clearly the opinion and the intent of Rabbeinu Tam was that no, even somebody who's lazy is not considered, that he's doing it for the sake of that it's repulsive. Brings us to Maran in the Bet Yosef, however, pointed out that the Arba'at Turim did not make the distinction that Rabbeinu Tam made. According to the Arba'at Turim, anyone who fails to fulfill this mitzvah, even if it's simply due to his laziness, is considered one of Posh'ei Yisrael Bigufan. According to some Rishonim, cited in the Bet Yosef, the mitzvah of tefillin is only one example of someone who is among the Posh'ei Yisrael Bigufan. The same applies to someone who fails to fulfill other mitzvot as well. Nevertheless, it could be that this concept applies to the mitzvah of tefillin exclusively, since tefillin are unique in that they are worn on the person's body. The Darchei Moshe cited Rabbeinu Nisim's ruling that anyone who fails to perform a mitzvah that can be fulfilled only by the person himself and not through an agent is in the category of a Jew who sins with his body. Tefillin is an example of such a mitzvah. Okay. That brings us to tefillin being a daily mitzvah. The Gemara in Masechet Eruvin, Daf Sadi Vav, Amud Aleph, teaches that Rabbi Akiva said, I might think that one is obligated to fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin on Shabbat or Yom Tov, but the Torah teaches, it shall be a sign for you on your arm. This excludes those days who are themselves an ot, a sign, which would be the Shabbat and the Yom Tov. The Beraita in Masechet Menachot, Daf Lamed Vav, Amud Bet, teaches, the Pasuk states, V'shamarta da'chuka hazot le'mu'addaha miyamim yamima. You must observe this statute on its correct date, all through days of the year. This teaches that the mitzvah applies during the day, but not during the night. It also teaches that the mitzvah applies during some of the days of the year, but not all the days of the year. This excludes Shabbat and Yom Tov. It is the teaching of Rabbi Yosef HaGelili. Another Beraita in Masechet Kiddushin, Daf Lamed Gimel, Amud Bet, teaches that tefillin is a mitzvah that applies at some times, but not at all times. Rashi and Tosafot explain that this is either because the mitzvah of tefillin does not apply at night, or because it does not apply on Shabbat or Yom Tov. Therefore, although the halacha follows the opinion that the mitzvah can be fulfilled technically at night, as well as during the day, the mitzvah is still limited by time, since it does not apply on Shabbat or Yom Tov. That'll have a nafkamina for the women. For them, it's a time-bound mitzvah, so they could not wear tefillin. The commentary of Baal HaTurim on the Torah, Sefer Shemot, Perek Yud Gimel, Pasuk Yud, taught that the word le'mu'adah is spelled with the letter Vav, to teach us that the mitzvah of tefillin applies 6 days a week. The letter Vav symbolizes the number 6. Furthermore, there are 6 holidays each year when the mitzvah of tefillin does not apply. Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and Shemini Aseret. Since the Torah excluded these days, we understand that we are obligated to fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin on all other days. And the last point here, before we get into the halachot, is an all-day obligation. The Peri Megadim in Siman Lamed Zayin wrote that he is unsure how to define the mitzvah of tefillin. It could be that it's sufficient to put on tefillin for one moment in order to fulfill the Torah's obligation of wearing tefillin, and that it's only a mitzvah of our chachamim to wear them all day. Nowadays, however, our chachamim exempted people from the obligation because of the difficulty in maintaining a clean body. Okay. All right. So we've completed our hakdama. We can now move into the halachot and start learning the nitty-gritty. What do we actually have to do? So, Siman Chaf-Hei, we are starting in Siman 25, in Hilchot Tefillin. Now, I'm not entirely sure, but my understanding, and it could be incorrect, but my understanding is that the way that the Yalkut Yosef is designed is so that the Simanim in the Yalkut Yosef correspond to the Simanim in Shulchan Aruch. So if you wanted to study and kind of see what the Shulchan Aruch is talking about and stuff like that, you can verify also in the Yalkut Yosef and vice versa. You can go back and forth. We're in Siman Chaf Hei within the Yalkut Yosef, which is Hilchot Tefillin, the laws of Tefillin. We start off the first Siman with the Mitzvat Aseh Le'anyah Tefillin, the Mitzvat Aseh to put on Tefillin. Mitzvah Aleph is a daily mitzvah. Mitzvat Aseh min haTorah le'anyah tefillin shel yad v'shel rosh b'chol yom milevad Shabbatot u'mu'adim. It's a positive command from the Torah that we have to put tefillin of the arm and of the head every single day, besides for Shabbatot and on holidays. V'ha'over al zeh ve'lo yanyah tefillin bitel aseh. Somebody who transgresses this and he doesn't put tefillin, he's nullified, he's wasted the opportunity to do a positive mitzvah. Ve'anasho hamur, and his punishment is very severe. So the Torah commands us each to put a tefillin on his arm and head each day, except on Shabbat and Yom Tov. If someone ignores this obligation and does not put on tefillin, he is guilty of failing to fulfill a mitzvah of the Torah, and he is liable to receive a severe punishment. See the preface to the Siman for a description of the punishments likely to be administered to someone who does not fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin, and a discussion identifying who is in the category of karkafta de la maniach tefillin, a head that has not worn tefillin. This is referencing what we just spoke about with the opinion of the Rif and of Rabbeinu Tam. This will be discussed in more detail below in Siman Lamed Zayin. It was likewise explained in the preface that if someone fulfills the mitzvah of tefillin, he is rewarded for fulfilling 8 mitzvot. And if he does not fulfill it, he is guilty of disobeying 8 mitzvot. Also, the issue of whether tefillin shel yad and tefillin shel rosh are 1 mitzvah or 2 is discussed in this preface. We learned from the Rambam that it's 2, and I think the opinion of the Ramban was that it was 1. According to some Rishonim, if someone fails to put on tefillin, he is guilty of transgressing a mitzvah lo ta'aseh, besides the mitzvah ta'aseh to put them on. This is because the Torah states regarding the mitzvah of tefillin, "V'shamarta et ha'chokah hazot lemu'adah miyamim yamima." Observe this statute in its right time every single day. We learn from this pasuk that there is no mitzvah to wear tefillin at night, since the pasuk emphasized the word day. Rambam in Hilchot Tefillin Perek Daled Halacha Yud Aleph ruled that if someone wears tefillin at night, he transgresses the commandment of this pasuk, which specifies that there is a mitzvah during the day only and not during the night. Since the pasuk uses the expression of the shamarta, it has the status of a mitzvah lo ta'aseh. See the comment of the Bet Yosef in Siman Chaf Tet. According to Tosafot in Masechet Eruvin Daf Tzadi Vav Amud Aleph, a person transgresses this mitzvah lo ta'aseh if he wears tefillin during the night. But if someone fails to wear tefillin during the day, he does not transgress this lo ta'aseh. Rav Haidan the Birkei Yosef in Siman Lamed Aleph Seif Aleph discussed this issue at length. See more about this issue in the Halacha Birah on page 6. Okay, that's going to bring us to Halacha Bet. Halacha Bet is all Jews are obligated wherever they live. Mitzvah Tefillin noheget bin ba'aretz or bin b'chutz la'aretz. The mitzvah of Tefillin is applicable whether one is in the land of Israel or whether he's in the diaspora. Even though it says in the Torah regarding the mitzvah of Tefillin, as it says in Sefer Shemot Perek Yud Gimel Pasuk Hey, and will be when God will bring you to the land of the Canaanites, which would be a reference to Eretz Israel. This mitzvah is not considered a mitzvah that's dependent upon living in the land of Israel. You can see more about that in Kiddushin. Daf Lamed Zayin, Amud Aleph, and in Tosafot over there in Divrei HaMatchil Harei. The mitzvah to wear tefillin applies to all people, whether they reside in the land of Israel or elsewhere. This is despite the fact that the Torah introduces one of the passages about tefillin with the Pesukim from Sefer Shemot, Perek Yud Gimel, Pasuk Yud Aleph, V'haya ki yaviacha Adonai l'eretz Kanaani. It will be when God will bring you to the land of the Canaanites. The mitzvah of tefillin does not depend on one's residing in the land of Israel. So what about in a case of poverty? Somebody who's very poor can't afford to purchase a set of tefillin. What's the halacha regarding such a person? Halacha Gimel is Misha en yado maseged liknot tzitzit tefillin. Somebody who can't afford to purchase tzitzit or tefillin. En mehoyav lechazel al petachim kedei liknotan. He's not obligated to go begging door to door to purchase the tzitzit and tefillin. That's how the Mishnah Berurah explains it in Sif Katan Bet, as well as in the Kaf HaChaim in Sif Katan Hey. אבל על כל פנים יחויב לחזר ולבקש מישראל שישאול לו תפילין לקיים במצווה. I say, however, he does have an obligation to go look for somebody to borrow the tefillin from. You don't have to go begging for the money to purchase one. It's no obligation specifically to own one, but if he can't afford it, he does have still the obligation to go borrow them. או לעשות כל תצדיקי שבאפשרתו לעשות כדי להשיג תפילין ולהליכם. Or to do whatever means are at his disposal in order that he should be able to acquire tefillin for himself and to put them on. That's brought down in the Biur Halacha in Siman 556, in Seif Aleph, in Divrei HaMatchil Afilu at the end. It's also brought down in Machaneh Yisrael Perek Hey and Igrot Moshe Chelek Dalid in Siman Dalid. ואם יכול לצמצם בהוצאותיו ועל ידי זה יוכל לקנות הציצית והתפילין מבלי שיצטרך לחזר לפתחים. If a person can just minimize his budget and save up the money so that he'll be able to purchase them without begging door to door, מחויב לעשות כן, he's obligated to do so. ראה, you can see more about this in Ahavat Chesed and Chelek Bet in Perek Chaf, as well in Ot Gimel in the footnote, in the gloss over there. Okay, if someone does not have enough money to purchase a set of tefillin, sorry, we're just going to touch back on a point that we mentioned earlier. Earlier, we mentioned that the mitzvah of tefillin does not depend on residing in the land of Israel. So I just want to clarify that point here. This is the Gemara's teaching in Masachet Kiddushin, Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph. Rashi added that there are several accounts in the Gemara of rabbis who resided in Bavel and still fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin daily. The Gemara, however, offers no explanation why this does not contradict the pasuk. The Talmud Yerushalmi in Masachet Kiddushin, Perek Aleph, Mishnah Het, however, points out that the Torah states in Sefer Devarim and Perek Yud Aleph Pasuk Yud Zayin, "Va'avatem mehera me'al ha'aretz hatova asher Adonai noten lachem v'samtem etc. Ukshatem otam na'ot ayetchem v'ayu letotafot ben einechem." You'll be driven out from the good land that God has given you, and so place my words and fasten them as a sign on your arms, and they shall be ornaments between your eyes. This pasuk teaches that even when we are exiled from the land of Israel, we're still commanded to wear tefillin. The Shita Lo Noda Lemi, an anonymous Rishon's commentary on Kiddushin, cited Rabbeinu Avraham ben David, that's the Avad, explaining that the Torah places the command to wear tefillin together with the mitzvah of redeeming a firstborn male donkey. The mitzvah of redeeming the firstborn, the Peter Hamor, is what it's referring to. The mitzvah of redeeming the firstborn of the livestock was first practiced while our ancestors dwelled in the wilderness, as the Torah states in Sefer Bamidbar Perek Gimel in Pasuk Mem Hey. The livestock of the Leviim will come in place of their livestock. Just as this mitzvah is incumbent upon us anywhere we might live, even if not in the land of Israel, the mitzvah of tefillin is likewise an obligation anywhere in the world. Meaning to say, since the mitzvah of tefillin, the first proof was that the pasuk says in Kiryat Shema, in the second paragraph, that when we're going to be exiled from the land, so we still have a mitzvah to wear tefillin. That was one proof that the mitzvah applies outside the land of Israel. The second proof was that it juxtaposed. There's a hekesh between tefillin and Peter Hamor. Just like Peter Hamor applies outside the land of Israel, so too the mitzvah of tefillin will apply outside the land of Israel. Alternatively, the Shita Lo Noda Lemi explained that the mitzvah of tefillin is written in the Torah next to the mitzvah of Torah study. It shall be for you a sign on your arm and a reminder between your eyes, so that God's Torah will be your speech, as it says in Sefer Shemot in Perek Yud Gimel in Pasuk Tet. Just as we are obligated to study Torah wherever we are, anywhere in the world, we're also obligated to fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin everywhere we might be. So one last point was, another proof was that it's also juxtaposed to Torah study. Just like Torah study applies everywhere in the world, so too the mitzvah of tefillin applies everywhere in the world. Okay, back to our topic regarding somebody who's in a case of poverty. If someone does not have enough money to purchase a set of talit and tefillin, he's not obligated to beg door to door to collect the necessary funds. This is the ruling of the Olat Tamid, based on the Talmud Yerushalmi in Masechet Peah, Perek Aleph in Mishnah Aleph. The Acharonim concurred with this ruling. The Eshel Abraham of Buchach in Siman Chaf Hey Seif Aleph reasoned that the Torah does not expect the person to forfeit his personal dignity in order to fulfill this mitzvah. Accordingly, if someone is willing to expose himself to the shame of begging door to door for the sake of this mitzvah, he's allowed to do so. This would not be considered an instance of going overboard unnecessarily to fulfill a mitzvah, which would be viewed critically by our Chachamim. Furthermore, anyone who supports his material needs by begging door to door must do so to obtain funds for tefillin as well. He cannot argue that he does not wish to shame himself further. Meaning, a person who, besides for the tefillin, which are like, let's say, in some cases, tefillin can be like $1,000. So if a person, he doesn't have a set of tefillin, and $1,000 is a big expense, but otherwise he's paying his mortgage, he's paying everything else, to go begging door to door for a set of tefillin would be very shameful for him. But if a person is so poor that he's anyways going door to door, then definitely he has no excuse. He should beg also to make sure he gets the money for tefillin as well. Okay. Tefillin, in contrast to other mitzvot. Let's just finish up this halacha. Regarding several mitzvot, the halacha demands that one fulfill them even if it becomes necessary to beg for the funds needed. For example, the Shulchan Aruch ruled in Siman, Resh Samech Gimel in Seif Bet, that even if someone has no money to buy food to eat, he must beg door to door to collect enough money to purchase lights to illuminate his home on Friday evening. Having light in one's home is fundamental to the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbat. In fact, the Biur Halacha over there rules that one must even sell one's shirt if necessary in order to get the necessary funds for this mitzvah. Likewise, the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Taf Ayin Bet in Seif Yud Gimel ruled that even someone who depends on others' charity for his livelihood must sell his shirt, borrow money, or engage in menial labor to earn enough to buy wine for the 4 cups needed for the Seder night. And the Shulchan Aruch ruled in Siman Taf Reish Ayin Aleph in Seif Aleph that even someone who depends on others' charity for his livelihood must borrow money to sell his shirt in order to purchase the necessary materials to light the Hanukkah lights. All these mitzvot were instituted by our Chachamim. The Torah does not obligate us to fulfill them. And yet, the Halacha demands that we resort to all means to fulfill them, right? The mitzvah of lighting Shabbat candles is midrabanan. The mitzvah of drinking the 4 cups of wine is midrabanan. The mitzvah of lighting Hanukkah candles is midrabanan. Nonetheless, we still have to beg door to door to fulfill them. So, the mitzvah of tefillin, on the other hand, is a Torah obligation. It's midoraita. And yet, the Halacha is that one is not obligated to beg for the funds needed to fulfill this mitzvah. This appears to be illogical. Why should it be stricter regarding a mitzvah b'derabanan, like lighting the Hanukkah lights, than it is a mitzvah deoraita, like tefillin? The Mishnah Biuran, Biur Halacha, Siman Taf Reish Nun Vav and Saif Aleph addressed this question and cited the Moro Kitzia, who asked and admitted that he could not find a satisfactory answer. He then pointed out that it is possible that even the Talmud Yerushalmi agrees that one must beg in order to purchase tefillin. The passage cited by the Olat Tamid is not discussing the mitzvah of wearing tefillin, but rather the mitzvah of making tefillin. According to the Gemara Yerushalmi, the fashioning of items used for mitzvot, tefillin, tzitzit, sukkah, is a mitzvah unto itself, and it warrants its own beracha. Regarding the mitzvah of making tefillin, the Talmud Yerushalmi states that it's not necessary to beg to procure the materials necessary to make a set of tefillin. It might be, though, that one is obligated to beg or sell one shirt in order to purchase a set of tefillin so that one can fulfill the mitzvah of wearing them each day. After all, this mitzvah is no less important than that of Shabbat lights, Hanukkah lights, or the 4 cups of wine for the Seder. The Bi'or Halacha concludes that even if one follows the lenient ruling of the Olat Tamid, one must borrow a set of tefillin each day in order to fulfill the mitzvah. He repeated this ruling in Machaneh Israel in Perek Dalid. Most Aharonim cited the Olat Tamid as the Halacha in practice, as Halacha L'Ma'aseh. The responsa Igrot Moshe of Rav Moshe Feinstein in Ora Hayim, Chelek Dalid, Ot Dalid, concurred with the Mishnah Be'orah that one must at least make every effort to borrow tefillin each day. The Kaf HaHaim Sofer in Siman Chaf Hey Sa'if Hey, however, wrote only that one should try to borrow tefillin, and the Halacha Be'orah on page 12 pointed out that it appears from this that one is not obligated to make extreme efforts to borrow tefillin, unlike the more stringent position of the Mishnah Be'orah and Igrot Moshe. The Machaneh Israel in Perek Hey pointed out that it is often problematic to rely on borrowing tefillin from other people. If the head sizes are different, it might be impossible to fulfill the mitzvah properly with someone else's tefillin. Therefore, he recommended that whoever cannot afford to purchase tefillin for himself should ask his friends and relatives to get together and purchase a set for him. It's very important a person should have his own set. Nevertheless, he is obligated to find someone each day to lend him a set of tefillin so that he can fulfill the mitzvah, or to employ every means at his disposal to somehow procure a set of tefillin that he can wear. If someone has the ability to limit his budget so that he can slowly save up enough money to purchase his own talit and tefillin without begging from others, he is obligated to do so. This warning is cited in Ahavat Chesed in Unit 2, Chapter 20, in a footnote to Ot Gimel. Baruch Adonai le'olam, Amen ve'amen. Okay, we'll stop here today.